If there's anyone who's the biggest hater of isekai anime, it's me. It's not just because I'm sick of the oversaturated slop that comes out every season with the cute marketable anime girl so that the franchise has something to attract fans. It's that fantasy is my favorite genre of any book or show or media because it, in my opinion, is the most escapist out of any genre. And goddamn do I hate the real world. Since Sword Art Online was the biggest hit of the 2010s, every anime has ripped too many pages out of that light novel, and now we have tons of inspiring shows to choose from every season. My gripes with isekai boil down to two main points: the characters and the tropes. Let's start with the first, the characters. Everyone is aware of how self-insert these shows can be, but paradoxically, to me, I could not for the life of me insert myself into these main characters. Maybe it's because I'm old and balding. The protagonists are so bland, I'd get more enjoyment talking to a cardboard cutout than watching the show. It's like they all came from the r/nice guy Reddit with how their entire personality is being kind. They're reserved, but a little confident and know when to stand up for themselves, and they all fight for what is right. Every fantasy world society never advanced to the level of basic kindness, so being nice is this completely novel but revolutionary idea that only the main character has. The thing is, I have no problem with shows being self-inserts, because that type of writing isn't inherently bad. If the author has a genuinely interesting personality, hell yeah, you go insert yourself into your own writing. The issue is to appeal to a mass audience, self-insert characters tend to be based around the viewer. You. And the author doesn't know you, so they come up with the most rudimentary traits that everyone likes. Now you can pretend you are an MC and have your own flock of anime women who all want you to have their children for saying thank you at the drive-thru window, because no one has ever done that in that universe. Speaking of anime women, what's with them too? While the guy protagonist is a hamburger without the patty, tomato, cheese, lettuce, onions, and pickles, the anime girls are written as if I ordered at an overpriced ice cream store. One flavor tastes like someone pissed in the mixing bowl. They all have one personality trait and no more. She's the shy one. She's the tsundere. Every anime girl in the protagonist harem also has at least one scene with the MC where there's some romantic undertones to make sure the part of the audience that likes that girl has enough material to jack off for the next 2 months. Don't get me wrong, I love my cat, fox, rat, dog, wolf, bunny, elephant, girl, Keminal Mimi hybrids, but every girl is just so plain. I'm willing to go as far as to say that harem shows aren't even that bad. I thought Quintessential Quintuplets was alright, and I thoroughly enjoyed the 100 girlfriends who really love you, but in these shows, the singular characteristic that each girl has significantly more depth and dynamic than whatever factory produces the isekai harem. Not only are the characters extremely grating, but why is everyone using the same tropes known to man? Something about a hidden, overpowered skill that only the main character has, or a hero's party, or a demon lord, or a leveling system. What do levels mean in the real world? I get that most isekai just slap someone from today into a game, so I guess a leveling system makes sense in that regard, but there are straight up some fantasy shows that have a leveling system without being tied to any game or MMO. And it's like they need a power gauge, but in the most brain-dead way possible. Also, for some reason, there's always that one girl being sold off as a slave, and the protagonist is so nice. He buys her, or saves her in some other form, and treats her like a normal person, and now she owes her life to him. The trend I've noticed is that since the isekai genre is already oversaturated with a bunch of generic shows, isekais coming out today have one unique quality to differentiate themselves from the rest, but all fall flat in terms of actual substance. Wow, I'm in another world as a vending machine, as a spider, as a farmer. Isn't that so quirky? I'm not saying I will instantly explode you with my mind if you put a trope in your writing. Tropes, when used properly, aren't even that bad. Soso no Frieren, while it does have the entire hero's party and demon lord thing as a backstory, is far more different from the average fantasy or isekai anime. The base tropes in Frieren are elevated in a way to give the story more meaning, but in other shows, they're there to make up the story. As long as an anime can skillfully add on to these types of ideas instead of regurgitating the same thing I've seen in a billion other shows, it's all good. This has been 4 minutes of me ranting about what I hate about isekais and other fantasy-related animes, but I'm not here just to hate. As I said earlier, fantasy is my favorite genre, so I will now go off on what I think makes a good show. First up is world building. World building is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically how a book or show creates an imaginary world. What kinds of nations are there? Are there different types of races? How does the power or magic system work? These are basic questions that any author should be asking themselves when trying to create an isekai. Other genres like like mystery or rom-com are usually set in a setting that's similar to today because they don't really need all these systems. World building is fantasy's strongest and most unique card, because the limit is literally your imagination. Doing it right, a viewer can not only absorb themselves into the world, but also play around with all the mechanics the author came up with. It essentially makes your fantasy universe more grounded. Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation is a perfect example of this. A massive beam of light displaces many people, including Rudy, the isekai protagonist. He is forced out of his comfort zone and sent to the other side of the continent that's barren and filled with danger. On his journey home, he visits different towns, areas, and people, such as a village of cat people. You love to see it. Or he comes across the "nah, I'd win" guy. The world is much more livelier and, in a way, realistic because it continues to exist with all these mechanisms with or without the protagonist. The biggest thing I think isekais are missing out on is being isekai'd itself. What I'm saying is that even if they're reincarnated into a different world, that doesn't mean their insecurities and issues magically poof out of existence. It's a second chance at life, and while many shows love using the wisdom and personality the characters have from their previous lives, you gotta take the good with the bad. Being isekai'd is a perfect opportunity for development and growth. Even though you're in a world that would make every Final Fantasy XIV player cream their pants, you still have to somehow navigate that world with your own mindset. I think a perfect example of this is ReZero. I don't care if you don't like it, because the example still works. Subaru, the main guy, obviously gets isekai'd, but his previous life still lingers. As a kid, he used to be talented and outgoing, but as Subaru got older, his accomplishments started diminishing and he slowly became a recluse. Subaru doesn't have a lot of confidence in himself, and it really shows throughout the anime, putting everyone else first before his own needs. When confronting his past because of a really complicated dream sequence that I'm not going to explain, Subaru realizes that he shouldn't have put so much weight on the validation of others, striving to do the best he can in the reincarnated world for the sake of his own goals. Subaru also comes with a second development. Surprise, surprise. His super cool, unique, overpowered ability is that whenever he dies, he awakens at a previous set point in time, essentially allowing him to see into the future and change it. What a save scummer. However, he becomes so accustomed to this that it actually starts taking a toll on his mental state, and when anything goes wrong, he just decides to grill himself because it's easier to start over. Subaru learns that he shouldn't try being a perfectionist since it causes too much anguish to keep dying and forcing events to play by his script. I understand not everyone likes Subaru as a character, but I think his development is what really makes him shine versus every other isekai protagonist. He had like 2 moments of development versus the usual 0, okay? That's a pretty big achievement. Honestly though, I'm just a silly little YouTuber giving my thoughts on today's isekai and fantasy shows, and I understand that writing anything in general takes a lot of work, which is why to help aspiring authors come up with better shows, I'm gonna give my best isekai idea. Make sure to credit me if you ever use this one. So it obviously starts off with the MC dying and being sent to the afterlife, and God is like, and gives him super epic fighting reflexes and magic skills. So at the start of his journey, this Yi guy, he's not me, the name is spelled differently, okay? Is like,
wow, this world sounds really cool. Hey God, can I have my phone?
And God is like, and now Yi is in another world with his smartphone. He goes and meets these 2 girls who are sisters or something and saves them from a predicament they definitely could have saved themselves from. And they're like, oh my god, you're so hot and handsome, you must have like 2 million subscribers, wanna join us in a party, teehee? And he's like,
okay.
And they do a quest together, and after the quest, Yi starts talking about how much he likes anime and streams it illegally to them on his phone, and the sisters are not only amazed by the technology, but also at Naruto Uzumaki and how he's really strong, and they don't make fun of Yi and call him a loser for liking anime. And that's the start to Yi's adventurer party, where the rest of the members are cute anime girls who are romantically interested in a brain-dead protagonist. So yeah, I think this could air for like at least 12 seasons. Tell me what you guys think in the comments.